Hi, everybody. Have you ever heard any stories about a ghost that buys or bargains for a person's life? This story is a real incident about it. A bit longer, but a very good story. I will share the story in two parts, and this is the first part. Today's story comes from the online idea, Cat and Miller. This idea is quite interesting. I specifically asked about it. Cat is the lady who shares the story with us, and Miller is the cat's boyfriend. Miller is not English word Miller, but the Chinese name of the smiling Buddha, Mila. Miss Cat is from Guangzhou and has been living in Chengdu with Miller for the past 2 years. In 2016, during the national holiday, she returned to Guangzhou to visit her parents and friends. Then heard about this incident, which shocked her. She later organized a story and specifically told it to me. Miss Cat has a high school classmate named Wei. The two girls had a very good relationship in school, and even after graduation, they often met when they had time. Later, Miss Cat moved to Chengdu. The two didn't meet for a year. During the holiday, Miss Cat met Wei for a gathering, and then she heard that Wei's family had encountered a very serious incident. Wei's family is very wealthy. Her parents are in import and export trade business, and their business is quite large. Wei has an elder brother named Lei, and Lei has a girlfriend named Lin. The incident involves Lei and Lin. Lei and Lin have been in a relationship since high school for nearly 10 years, and their relationship was very good and stable. Both sets of parents have met, and they have already discussed getting married. In April 2016, Lei took his girlfriend to Japan for a month-long trip. Lei wanted to do an official proposal. Lin understood and had long decided to marry him, so the two flew directly to Japan. A month is ample time to tour a small country like Japan. They visited many famous cities and attractions in Japan without any pressure, and the two had a great time. One day, they arrived in the southern part of Yamanashi Prefecture at the Fuji River mouth, a very famous place next to Mount Fuji, the highest peak in Japan and a famous tourist attraction. Additionally, Yamanashi Prefecture has another famous tourist area called Akigera Forest at the foot of Mount Fuji, a forest like an ocean. If you are familiar with Japan, you should know that this place is also Japan's suicide hotspot. With one of the highest suicide rates in developed countries, many Japanese people come to this place to end their lives. So this forest is also called the suicide forest. Of course, it had nothing to do with Lei and Lin. They were just tourists because the environment there was very elegant and the scenery was very beautiful, making it very suitable for young couples to travel. They found a very good local guest house to stay in and play around nearby. It was April, not the best time to see Mount Fuji, but this did not affect them. During their stay in this guest house, everything was normal for the first 2 days. But on the third day, Lei encountered a strange event, and from that day on, a series of nightmares began. That day, after playing outside all day, both of them were tired and went to bed early. In the middle of the night, Lei heard a sound in his room, the sound of Japanese women wearing wooden clogs, walking on the floor, clacking. He barely opened his eyes and saw a Japanese woman in a dark kimono in his room. The kimono was embroidered with large butterflies, and the woman had loose hair, her hands on her knees, her legs bent, her head down, and she walked past Lei in a strange posture with very small steps. Then the woman disappeared. Lei was actually very sleepy. Glanced around the room, everything was normal. Moonlight shone in through the gaps in the curtains. There was a little light in the room. He saw nothing amiss. Lei thought he was probably dreaming, and he continued to sleep. He didn't know how long he slept. And then there was the sound of a woman walking again. Oh my God, how did she come in again? Lei thought. And this time the sound was very close, as if this person's feet had stepped on his pillow. Lei sat up suddenly, his heart pounding, looking around. Nothing was wrong. Lin was sleeping soundly next to him, and there was crickets chirping in the yard. Very quiet. Lei turned on the bedside lamp quietly and checked the entire room, finding nothing abnormal. His girlfriend was awakened by the light and asked, Lei, what's going on? Why aren't you sleeping? Lei did not dare to tell her what he saw. He said, I'm going to the bathroom. Sleep. I'll sleep too. Lin did not mind, turned over and continued to sleep. Lei went to the bathroom, returned to bed, sat for a while. Nothing happened. He wanted to sleep, but he did not dare to turn off the light. Instead, he adjusted the brightness of the light to the dimmest, so that he could see the surroundings at any time, and it wouldn't disturb his girlfriend's sleep. Lei checked the time. It was after 3 in the morning. He thought if he could make it until dawn, it should be okay with the light on, and then he fell asleep again. The next day, after getting up, the two packed their luggage and were ready to go to the next place. Lei felt very uncomfortable because of the last night's events, so he pretended to look for his personal belongings and started searching the entire room. We have all stayed in hotels, everybody, and those rooms generally don't have anything peculiar, just some slippers, pajamas, toothbrushes, etc. But after a careful search, they really found something. This was a black lacquer wooden box, hidden at the very bottom of the bookshelf, clearly not for guests. What's inside? Lei was very curious. Opened the box, and inside was a very exquisite Japanese tortoise-shell comb. This comb was very beautiful, but Lei did not dare to touch it at all. Seeing the comb made him shudder all over. He closed the lid of the box quickly, put the box back, and said, shit. His girlfriend heard it and asked what happened. Lei said, it's not a big deal. There is the box and the bookshelf, and there is a comb in the box. I don't know who put it here. It's really strange. He closed the door of the bookshelf and told his girlfriend that he would go downstairs to check out first, and asked his girlfriend to pack up and come downstairs. In a short while, his girlfriend also came downstairs with her suitcase, and they left the guest house and went to another city. Lei's proposal was also very successful, and Lin, as expected, agreed. The two were very happy and continued their trip. Finally, the two flew back to China from Narita Airport in Japan. Everything was very smooth and happy. Lei also recalled the incident at the guest house at the foot of Mount Fuji, but he just took it as a nightmare. After all, nothing had happened. However, things were far from over, and later developed into an uncontrollable tragic ending. On the 5th day after they returned to China, Lei had a nightmare. In a dream, Lei and his girlfriend ended their trip to Japan and were preparing to return to China, going through security at Narita Airport. Lin was in front and had already passed the security checkpoint. while Lei was stopped up by two stern security personnel. Lei was puzzled and asked, "Why are you stopping me? I didn't bring any prohibited items." One of the security officers said, "You didn't bring prohibited items? What about what you're holding in your hand?" Lei looked down and saw that he was holding a black wooden box in his hand, but he didn't know he was holding a wooden box. He said, "Oh, this isn't mine." The wooden box seemed to appear out of nowhere in his hand, and he immediately recognized it as the box containing the comb from the guest house at the foot of Mount Fuji. He explained, "This isn't mine." After seeing this, he wanted to throw away the wooden box, but a security officer grabbed his arm immediately and said, "Don't throw it away. What's inside of the wooden box?" Lei was very panicked in the dream and said, "This is not my wooden box at all. I don't know how it got in my hand. Whatever inside has nothing to do with me." The security officer insisted that Lei open the box, so he had to open the lid of the black wooden box. He thought there must be a beautiful Japanese comb inside. But when he opened the box, Lei was horrified to find that box contained a woman's head, wrapped in long black hair. Lei screamed, "This isn't mine. It's from the guest house at the foot of Mount Fuji." He wanted to throw it away again, but the two security officers held him down and shouted, "Young man, you are carrying this thing. Don't you care about your life? This is not something you can just throw away casually." Lei shouted, "This isn't mine. This isn't mine." Then he woke up, his head feeling groggy, as if he was short of oxygen, and his whole body was sweating. He calmed down a bit. The dream was very clear just now, and the dream was the same environment as when the two of them were at Narita Airport before taking off and going through airport security. Moreover, the faces, movements, expressions, and the uniforms of the two security officers in the dream made Lei feel particularly real and particularly terrifying. He felt very uncomfortable and uneasy in his heart, but he couldn't explain the reason. In the morning, after getting up, his mood was very bad. His girlfriend saw it and asked, "Lei, what happened? Didn't you sleep well?" Lei didn't tell her about the dream, but made up an excuse, and after breakfast, he went to the company. After turning on the computer, he started to search for Mount Fuji River mouth, and then he quickly found the Okigara forest and soon learned about the suicide forest. Lei had never known about this before, and if he had known, he would not have gone to this place. He looked up a lot of information online, some of which said, "Most people who committed suicide in Okigara forest choose to harm themselves. This place is very abnormal. If you take a compass to this forest, it will malfunction. The Japanese police send people to search this forest every year, not to rescue those who attempt suicide, but to collect the bodies of those who have committed suicide. Many bodies were found with only moss-covered skeletons remaining." Other articles said, "Many people committed suicide in Akigara forest every year, so the forest is heavily imbued with a gloomy atmosphere. According to Japanese culture, the souls of those who end their lives in the forest are absorbed by the trees in the forest. Over time, these trees become very spiritual. Locals will look at some trees at specific times, take some wood and make various exquisite ornaments to place in their homes to increase their fortune. Therefore, many local guest houses and hotels have items made from this wood. If you hear strange noises in the middle of the night while staying there, Don't be afraid. It is likely related to these wooden items. As long as you do not provoke these items, they will not harm you. Reading this, Lei felt a chill down his spine. If what the article said was true, then the strange woman he saw that night was not a dream. Could this thing be related to the people who committed suicide in Okigara Forest? He pondered for a long time, feeling somewhat relieved that he did not provoke the strange woman that night. He has already returned, and the recurring dreams are probably because he is still thinking about this matter. It's okay, he comforted himself. After all, Lei has been back for several days, and apart from the strange dream last night, there have been no other issues. Lei adjusted his mood, closed all these web pages, and started working. However, things are still getting worse. 2 days later, Lei had another nightmare with the same theme as the previous dream, still at the security checkpoint at Narita Airport. This time, when Lei opened the box and saw the woman's head, he was not so panicked. Instead, he closed the box immediately, held it tightly, and tried to break through the security blockade to rush into the airport. The security officer controlled Lei, saying, "Young man, don't you care about your life?" But Lei, in a dream, was very persistent. It seemed that what he held in his hand was not a human head, but a priceless treasure. A priceless treasure that must be brought back at all costs. The security officer continued to desperately hold onto Lei, and Lei woke up again, shouting and waking Lin up. Lin asked Lei, "What's going on? Did you have a nightmare again?" Lei, covered in sweat and full of panic, had not yet fully returned to reality from the dream. Lin got up to get Lei some water, came back to the bedside, and asked, "You were still hugging a pillow like a child. Look at you. You are so scared. What did you dream about? Say it out loud, and it won't come true." It's a Chinese tradition that if you have a nightmare, you should immediately tell someone nearby, and the nightmare won't become a reality. Lei looked down and saw that he was still tightly hugging a pillow, just as he had been tightly holding the black wooden box containing the woman's head in his dream. Lei's head buzzed, and without responding, he took the cup of water and drank it all. He took a big breath. Saying Lei like this, Lin also became nervous and asked, "What exactly did you dream about? Tell me." Lei shook his head. "I just had a nightmare, but I've dreamed it twice in a row, and I am a bit scared." Lin kept asking, but Lei still didn't tell Lin about the nightmare. Why not? Because he vaguely felt that this nightmare was not so simple, and he did not want to involve his girlfriend. Telling her would just mean one more person to worry and be afraid. This is not hard to understand, just as sometimes people only talk about their good news and not their bad news. And white lies are the same. For 2 weeks after that night, nothing happened, and Lei did not have any more nightmares. But he felt more and more uneasy because the absence of events did not mean it was over, but rather the brief calm before the storm. Lei knew that this matter was not over. The longer the peaceful time lasted, the greater the blow would be in the future. He was anxious every day, and the discomfort in his heart was impossible to explain to others. However, misfortune eventually came. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday night, Lei was reading a book. Lin was already asleep, and Lei was also a bit sleepy and preparing to sleep. At this time, he found Lin lying in bed, her legs moving back and forth, struggling and shivering all over. Lei was about to wake Lin up, and Lei also found that Lin was saying something indistinctly, with her eyes closed, but her eyeballs were turning violently, very restless. Lei knew Lin was dreaming, and at 99% it was a nightmare. Lei reached out and gently patted Lin's face, patting and calling Lin's name. Lin screamed and sat up, her expression terrified, staring at Lei, not at all like someone who had just woken up from sleep. Lei was also very nervous, and he could only suppress his own fear to comfort Lin, asking, "What happened? Did you have a nightmare?" The next words from Lin really made Lei's hair stand on end. So, what did Lin dream? Let me tell you in the next part.